Perfect. So, welcome to this session. We'll talk a little bit about AI systems powered consultants. I feel like there's a huge change on the horizon. We've seen it over the last couple of years, but it's definitely only accelerating. And I think it's going to change consulting as we know it. In a minute, I'll actually give you some examples of how this is changing right before our eyes. And probably to make the bold prediction. Good to see Adam there as well. Hey, Adam. Um, my bold prediction is actually that I'd say in the next 3 to 5 years, maybe even shorter, that AI is going to kill 80% of consulting businesses. And I think it's really important to make sure we understand what's causing this change and how we can transition, stay ahead of this, and how we can be part of the 20% of the consultants that actually survive. So I've got an example I'll actually show you through in just a moment for that. But I want to try and really help navigate you through 2025. And I want to show you there is an opportunity to combine this systematic thinking with AI, and it's creating this new category of very much high value consultants. And I think there is an opportunity here to kind of add this into your tool set. So stay with me to the end. Also, I've got lots to share. I've got a few different resources. I've got a ChatGPT for coaches prompting sequence that I think you'll find really useful. And there's a couple of resources for some coaches and consultants I think that you'll find helpful. I'll share that right towards the end. If you can, pop the video on. I know Adam and Tanya just joined us there. It's great just if we can see some faces. If not, that's fine. Just type it into the chat. I know Ollie was unable because he didn't have a video. But I know a few of you probably know who I am. I'm the founder of Systemology. About 10 years ago, I was very much that business owner stuck in the day-to-day operations of their digital agency. And I kind of got to that point where I'd had enough is enough. Didn't want to be that dad who was always too busy. I talk about it in the book, that moment when I found out we were pregnant, and then I really turned things around, managed to step out of the operations, plugged in a CEO, and that's when I fell out of love with digital agency life. Realized, hey, I want to be working on something where I feel personally and financially rewarded for the work that I do. And I kind of felt like I had a calling with systems. And just out of the blue, I had Michael E. Gerber, the author of the E-Myth, his wife actually reach out, got to do a project with him. And that really was a big part of planting the seeds for what was to come. Since then, we launched the Systemology book. Many of you have read it. Stuart, have you? You've that's probably how you came across me. Yeah. So it's really connected with business owners. I think mainly just because the language is very real and it speaks straight to the heart of a business owner. And I distill, and it's almost like a how-to implementation guide for the E-Myth. That was what it was written for. And been quite fortunate to have helped thousands of businesses around the world systemize their operations, get the business owners out of the day-to-day of the work. And I think very quickly after the book launch, I recognized that there's more work than I could ever get to. There's just a lot of business owners that need this help and business owners who want hands-on approach. And I mean, I can put a book out, we can put up an online course, but there's still going to be a need to work with consultants. And that was kind of what launched the idea of the Certified Systemologist Network to meet that demand. Over the years, we've had 70 different systemologists come through that program. We've literally helped thousands of companies. You're going to hear some of the stories today. Rob Morgan actually is joined with me. He's the head of our systemologist community. We'll get him to share a little bit about his story and some of the work that he's done. I've also got a systemologist, James Brown, who's going to jump in a little bit later and tell you just a bit about his work and how he discovered systemology, just to kind of let you know what's possible. But maybe just to start, Stuart, I know I'd love to know, how did you come across systemology? Was it through the book or by recommendation? How did you find us?
I think it was by recommendation.
Yeah.
Um, and uh, and I was just I really appreciate the concept because I tend to work with systems myself for a variety of things, and I just know the efficiencies you can achieve And so I really appreciated the approach that you were taking.
Yeah. What industry are you in, or do you service? Is there a particular niche that you've gone after?
Marketing. So I'm a marketing consultant
Yep.
and I work primarily with emerging tech companies, including AI companies. So that's why I'm fascinated because I'm seeing it from the technologist side, but I'm also seeing it from the user side. So it's nice to
Yeah.
be able to bring those two worlds together.
I think Adam is in a very similar space. He does marketing consultancy work as well. And Tanya and Ollie, I don't know if you can type it into the chat. I don't know if just let me know if you're a coach or a consultant, or if you're wanting to move into that
I'm a
space,
coach.
and what industries you serve.
I'm a coach. I'm a neuro language coach.
Was that a neuro language?
Yeah, it's a neuroscience plus language with coaching, effectiveness, joy, and structure.
Yeah,
That's
fantastic.
why I'm really blessed to tap into the system because a few years ago I was like, woo woo, and now I need to be more intentional and to really rely on structure and system because my brain is always going everywhere and I
Yeah,
need systems to move forward.
yeah, perfect. And Tanya as well. I don't know if you want to chime in or type into the chat. Might not be able to chat. That's all right. Just type it in and then we can keep an eye on that. I think, look, I was very much on my journey spreading the systemology message and helping business owners, building out the systemologist network. And then about 2 years ago, I mean, I had my ChatGPT moment, as many business owners did, and it was very clear to me the disruption that it was going to cause. You fast forward a couple of years, I mean, we're seeing different models pop up left and right that do different things, whether it's Claude, which is great for writing, Notebook LM, which is a Google tool which helps you process your own material, Perplexity. I mean, we just had DeepSeek get launched, which is a Chinese competitor to OpenAI, and pretty much turned the whole industry and tanked the stock market as a result. And everything is just moving pretty much on a dime. Like it is extraordinary the pace at which we're seeing. And I think probably the biggest thing I want you to think of as a coach or a consultant is is where this is going. Now, I don't know if anybody's played yet with the voice option on ChatGPT and talking to the 4.0 model, but this is pretty much where we're at. Like I'll do it on my phone here. I press the button. It's going to pop up. Hey, I'm an automotive shop owner and I've got some cash flow troubles. I'm just wondering if you can take the role of a business coach. I want you to ask me some different questions so you understand my situation. And then I'd love it if you can help me build an action plan on what to do next.
Absolutely, Dave. Let's get started. To understand your situation better, could you tell me a bit more about the specific cash flow challenges you're facing? For example, are you experiencing late payments from customers, high operational costs, or seasonal fluctuations? Also, are there any recent changes in your business that might have impacted your cash flow?
Look, I'm having troubles in all of those areas. Following up payments has been a challenge. I think it's probably even just trying to get cash flow into the business. So maybe marketing is also. I don't think I've had any particular changes. Like it's always been a little bit of a struggle. I'm just trying to figure out, of the millions of things I could focus on, where should I start?
I understand, Dave. It sounds like you're dealing with a combination of cash flow issues related to both incoming payments and generating new business. Let's break this down and prioritize. First, let's tackle the issue of late payments. Are you currently using any specific?
Now, I won't go through that. All I want you to do is just, I want you to now, in your mind's eye, zoom forward 2 or 3 years from where we are right now, thinking about how much change has already happened in a couple of years. Now we know the models are getting smarter. We know that you can do custom GPTs and you can train it on specific material. And currently it's like having a PhD on every topic under the sun in your pocket that you can get access to either for free with some of the new models or at $20 a month if you're using ChatGPT. What does that mean for a consultant? Again, think about again, zooming ahead into the future, where we get better at plugging in APIs and connecting tools and exporting data out of your Xero or MYOB, or you're connecting your CRM data directly into the AI. And then you can ask those questions on a very tailored and trained AI for a specific coaching role. And then it has access to all of your information. And then you'll be able to engage with that and get solid advice. Like, think about how quickly we've moved, think about the speed at which we're going, and you start to realize how scary this is. Now, we're talking about significantly disrupting the coaching and consulting space, but this is happening everywhere. It's happening in every industry, every department, every role. Everything is getting turned on its head. Businesses haven't yet woken up to this. Some are, and they're getting the early movers advantage. A lot of them haven't, let alone coaches and consultants who aren't yet thinking about this. But this is happening. Like, this we're one or two moves away from this really shaking things up. So the question is, how do you adapt? And what do you do with the changes that are happening? You can't stick your head in the sand. The genie is out of the bottle. You've really only got one choice. Like, you have to embrace this. And you have to think about, as a coach or a consultant, what can't the AI replace? Like, what is the unique value that you're adding? If we think, you know, Wayne Gretzky, skate where the puck is going, not to where it is. Like, you're still safe now with coaching and consulting, but we have to think about where things are going. And you want to start planting the seeds now and getting in the right position with what we know is going to happen. I'll just take Ollie's question there in the chat, which is how to set up an Ollie GPT that would reply to any question. So there's actually a few different ways using my character. Yeah, so there's a couple of different tools. The question is, how do you make almost like a digital twin and train it up? So that's probably, as a coach or a consultant, one bit of advice that I'll give you is you want to start taking all of your material, calls that you've got, presentations that you've had, anything where you're talking about your subject matter, and start to get it transcribed and organized. Because to train this AI, you need to feed it data. So it's having it ready to go and all organized is part of creating that digital twin. I love using, at the moment, Notebook LM for a lot of the internal stuff because it tends to hallucinate very little. So it doesn't tend to make anything up. It can access vast amounts of data. It's a service provided by Google, and which means, because we use G Suite, I can share it with my team. So I set up a general knowledge source with all of the information that I've ever done, and then my team can tap into it and they can use it for replies and things like that. There are other solutions also that have options where you can create similarly a digital twin that'll speak to you, that'll kind of, it's a mixture between Notebook LM and something like ChatGPT, but it doesn't deviate too much and it sounds like you. And then you can actually have it log what people are asking it. So you can set it up, let's say, for your community or your clients, and you go, well, if you've got a question, ask this digital twin first. And then if you're not quite sure, come to me. So we're in the process of setting one up for our SYSTEMologists from myself. There's not a particular tool that I want to say on the record just yet, other than the ones I'll mention a few. But until I have tested stuff inside and out, I tend not to recommend stuff. I also want to feel really confident that it protects your IP. I mean, that's the other big thing. That's the scary thing that a lot of people are thinking with DeepSeek is, what data are we sending into it, and what are we training potentially an AI model out of China that might be outside of certain regulations and reach. So like anything, you should be mindful of what it is that you do feed into the data. But there are some different solutions opening up. We also have a look at you can now deploy custom models also. If you want to go, like, you can either use something like a ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity. I mean, there's lots of them out there. You get great power, great flexibility, but the cost is that effectively you're releasing your data through to a third party. And some of them will have certain rules around how they have to keep that data privacy. Others, just makes you wonder. There are solutions that you can do custom deployments as well, where you might put it on your own server and you get something like Llama, which is an open source Facebook solution. So there are some ways to do it. But to come back on track, I mean, the main thing I want you to think about is what can you do that makes you irreplaceable? What can't the AI replicate? That is the question that you need to be asking yourself now. Probably the biggest thing that's become really evident to us as systemologists is that the AI still needs to be told what to do. Everybody is getting stuck deer in headlights going, oh, look at all of these possibilities of what AI can do. And they don't know where to start. In business, you think, well, what are we currently doing? What's already essential? What's already critical to business? And how can we do it faster, cheaper, and better with AI? Focus on already what's working. That's actually why I think systemologists are sitting in the catbird seat, like they're in the perfect position to ride this opportunity. Because that's all a systemologist does. They understand and figure out what are the core systems essential that makes a business drive, where are the opportunities, which bits can be re-engineered with AI that can add straight to a client's bottom line. One of our clients, Sharon Schmidt, she runs a company called Smart Business Solutions. She's got a team of accountants and bookkeepers and things like that. She's based in Victoria here. As she's gone through the systemology process, one thing that she learned is you first need to know what the process is and then document it. Then you use that to feed into AI, whether it's automation tools, robotic process automation, whether it's crafting prompts that then get fed into your LLM to complete some of that work faster. I mean, there's different ways to tackle this, but she looked at some of her tasks, found one that was using a huge amount of labor and it was quite repetitive and consistent. She ended up documenting it, leveraging some AI tools to automate it, saved 1,000 man hours per year on this particular task, ended up being about 60% the equivalent of a full-time employee's working hours. This was on one task. She found another routine task, which was to do with logging into the ATO, scanning the page, figuring out what were the updates, documenting it, and reporting it back to the client. This was taking the team member 2 hours every single day. And, she automated that process, saved 10 hours per week. You multiply that out, and she's just stacking all of these savings on top of each other that drop straight to the bottom line. She's doing it anyway. The team is already doing it. So now she's just going, and how can the AI do it? So there are literally millions of these opportunities out there in small pockets in different businesses. You need to know how to tap into these, how to identify them, if you've already got your foot in the door with a client, you need to be having these conversations right now. And if you haven't yet and you're looking to build up clients, you use this to open the door. Figure out, once you know your niche and you know some of their biggest problems, find what is the AI solution that solves one of their biggest problems. Get really good at delivering that to a bunch of people in the marketplace in that particular niche so you get it. And then what a great way. Then you just go, oh, Joe Bloggs' plumbing down the road. I just installed this AI bot that took over some of the inbound folk calls and answering some basic Q&A, and we saved him a whole staff person's wages every single week. Let me do the same for you. What a fantastic door opener. And that's what we're seeing with a lot of our systemologists. Systemologists are starting to use it in a couple of different ways also. They're using it for themselves internally, but then they're also applying it to clients. I mentioned about systemologists who applied it to Shannon Schmidt. But systemologists, what got my attention for this was probably SYSTEMologist was one of the first to be impacted around the documentation side of things. Like we used to go back a couple of years, we'd meet with the client, we'd identify the critical systems, we'd meet with the team, we'd record the task getting done, and then we would go away and do the documentation, and then we'd deliver it back. That was part of the deliverable. Almost overnight, that whole component of the documentation disappeared, or we had a competitive advantage because we got to it very early, and we taught our systemologists how to use ChatGPT, and we trained up a custom GPT we called Process Pal, and they would load the transcripts in and it would squirt it out. They'd add it into System Hub, and they were able to deliver almost seemingly what looked like magic to the client. And they were doing significantly less work, which meant a lot of the systemologists were able to take on more clients, were able to get more work done. And it was a little bit of a multiplier. There is still a little bit of that going on, but it's rapidly shrinking as more and more people become aware of what these LLMs can actually do. We've kind of got a couple of steps beyond that now. We quickly started building out a tool we call Docufire, which we make available to our systemologists, which basically takes a lot of our IP and then puts it into a tool that now, you create a client profile, and then it does a great job at rewriting the policy handbook that's tailored specific to their industry and can just do it at lightning speed. We've just developed so many different ways now that systemologists can deliver great value, and it's got high perceived value, but the actual work required for the systemologist, it's more about knowing where to hit. That we're training them to work very smart. Another systemologist, Simon Kelly, actually I'll share the link for this one. He completely re-engineered his process for the way that he does. I'll just post that in the chat there, for the way that he does proposal generation. He meets with clients. He does a discovery session with them. He takes that, feeds it into ChatGPT through a series of prompts, and is able to create fantastic proposals. Used to take him 2 or 3 hours after he did the discovery session. He'd tailor everything together and identify what their goals are and the gaps and where the opportunities are. All of this now is done. He'll do it after the interview in sort of less than 15 minutes. But it's spotting these opportunities. Rob, and we'll probably talk about it a little bit later, now creates custom GPTs for clients where he trains it on their data from the calls that he's having with clients, and that's part of the deliverable through to them. There's just a huge wide range of case studies. As I mentioned, I've got a PDF I'll share with you at the end called ChatGPT for Coaches. I have got a few prompts there that I think can really help you. So I'll give you the link through to that. But again, you just really have to start taking this seriously. I think, long story short, if you're not fully embracing this, you're leaving a lot on the table. I might check in with you, Stuart. I'd love to know. I mean, you're nodding a little bit there. I don't know how you're either feeling about what's going on in the consulting space, or if you're already using some of these tools. Like, I'd love to know how you're thinking about it. You just have to unmute yourself there. There we go. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm fortunate in that I've been working with AI for over 20 years. One of my clients actually was the AI that became the brain of Alexa. So I've been dealing with this for years and years now. So I'm using it, and I'm in the very simplest way, and this is how I explain it to people. I look at every single process that we do, and the question I ask is, how can we work smarter, not harder? That's it. And I think that's the goal of everybody in business. So I'm using it for a variety of things. I'm using it a lot of times to organize and reorganize information, because a lot of what we do, to your point, is our brain already exists out there, and the things that we've written, the plans that we put together. To be able to go and mine that and have that do the thinking for you and that do the answering for you, I think is the smartest thing you can do, because you discover so much of the stuff you do every day is really redundant for you. So my goal is to clear the decks for me on the stuff that's redundant and focus on the stuff that's more creative.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the biggest takeaway that all consultants need to think about. You've been thinking about AI for a while. It's funny, the lag time between thinking and hearing about it and implementation. Some people move quicker than others. I think that story I mentioned with Shannon Schmidt, that accountant, and I remember she sort of started embracing this. She started thinking about it after she had her ChatGPT moment, and then there was a lag time between her thinking about it, understanding it, starting to test it for herself, getting comfortable with it, then starting to share it with the team. The team equally has a lag time. They have to think about it, get comfortable with it, realize it's not necessarily going to replace their job, it's only going to magnify them.
Exactly.
And then after that, now she's then getting uh, consultant to come in to do presentations to get the team's brains in tune and starting to apply it in their business. So the takeaway here is you have to be aware of that lag time, not only for your business as a consultant, but also your clients' businesses also. So again, that's why I've tried to make this a little bit of a wake-up call for those consultants that aren't thinking about it, because it's going to take you some time to figure this out, and we need to start skating to where that puck is. So I think that's an important thing to think about. And the same is true for your clients. I think probably the consultant space will move quicker than, because oftentimes it's smaller and there's less team. Like, it's the consultant who has to get their head around it. Whereas in business, you also need to get the buy-in from the team, and that will have a lag. And the larger the organization, sometimes the slower that it can move. So again, with clients, you want to start dropping these seeds and planting them now, because in 2 to 3 years' time, the landscape is going to look very different. So James Brown has actually joined us, and I might lean in on him. He's one of our systemologists. He's actually a master systemologist, looks after our business community. He's got a program actually coming up, our Systems Champion program next month, and I thought it'd be great to kind of get him along. James, just before you joined us, we talked a little bit about the impact of AI and what it's going to mean for consultants and how they need to really be on the front foot. I'd love to hear, I don't know if you can share just a little bit about your story. I know your transition from traditional business owner to consultant to now consultant that is kind of all in and embracing systems and AI.
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. Great to be here and just, I guess, giving you some experience from what I've been seeing over my time, particularly with systemology. But just to give you a bit of context, so I fell into running a family motel about 20 years ago. I even lived there as a kid about 30 years ago. And I was young and dumb, 24 years old when I did that. And I did it the wrong way for a good probably 3-4 years, just in terms of working stupid hours and things like that, and doing it all myself, thinking I had to do it all myself. But I had a great example from someone very close to me of that's not the way that you run a business. And so I started employing lots of people in that business, and then had the challenge of, what do I get all these people to do? And then went on that journey of systemizing. That was back in probably about 2008 or 2009, and very rapidly, rapidly for not using systemology. I'll put a disclaimer there. It felt like forever, but it was about four years that I spent really just blinders on getting that business systemized. And I did it the wrong way. You've got your systemology use, so it makes it a lot quicker and easier now. But I got to the point that I was probably only working in that business, working in the business, as in doing stuff for the day-to-day, about half an hour a month. And I just spent all my time tuning the business, and I loved it. It was I just got to play with business development all day, every day. And for me, that was great up until COVID hit. You probably remember that little blip. That industry obviously was fairly devastated, because up until COVID, that business was running pretty much without me, to the point that I had a team doing all the work, and I started off my new venture and I started dabbling in business coaching and things like that. And when COVID came along, we ended up reinventing that business and basically running it from the Philippines. We already had a check-in kiosk out the front, and we just went, well, I guess we can't serve customers right now, so we're going to, in terms of face-to-face, so we're going to keep doing it that way. But we had that business automated up to its eyeballs. I sort of joked to the team that Zapier runs the business and they sort of just fill in the gaps. But that was actually a bit tongue-in-cheek because the Zapier was a big backbone. We're having everything plugged in together. And that meant that when COVID came along, it was so quick and easy for us to just adapt. And I see a lot of similarities with AI, with using opportunities like Zapier and other API interconnectivity and things like that, which is you've got such an opportunity to augment how things are done today to just lighten the load and allow the team members to focus on stuff that actually creates more value for the customers. So less busy work and more, interactive and, communication and things like that. So in about 2020, when Dave launched the book, I jumped on board with being a systemologist, and I actually felt a little bit angry when I jumped on board because I was so annoyed at how much time I'd wasted systemizing that business the wrong way. But I was an absolute sponge and went on this journey. And much like Rob, as we go through, we get to really see deeply into people's businesses. We see warts and all. I often feel that we get to see more about the business than the business owner knows. And because we're peeling back the layers, we're talking to their seasoned team members who have been there since day one. And we say, oh, so how do you do this part? And they're like, oh, we do this. And like, I've talked to the business owner. They don't think you do that at all. I keep my mouth shut because we're always focused on, just documenting what's working for them right now, because optimization comes later. But the visibility we get into those companies just means that when we get to, let's say, the end of a sprint of us doing some work together, we can really lean in with the business owner and say, so this is what's actually going on in your company. And the amount of inefficiencies we see is off the charts, isn't it, Rob? It is just so ridiculous that I just started working with a company. They've got 350 people to manage VA service. And we were talking about one particular process about sending a service level agreement. It went back and forth between 8 people to populate and sign a standard contract. 8 people. It was insane. And so in terms of what we see with AI, seeing these opportunities, having the trust and rapport with the business owner to go, hey, are you aware that, you could just use some automations at the base level to take care of this? And then you can have it, I don't know, proofread by AI to give it some feedback based on this information here. It's basically just so many opportunities. And one of those things is because we do get to see behind the veil of what the customer sees. We also know that when people do use AI, they often are using it really poorly. So for example, people that have generally had a crack at, let's say, doing some copywriting with AI, they'll put in 1 or 2 sentences and they'll expect to have this beautiful, eloquent copy that just really punches home. And we know that's just not the case. And because we get so much context about that company when we work with them, when we can work and help them, because I've done that with a few companies in terms of building up some AI background prompts, we can really help them build up a way to interact with AI that gets AI to connect with how their business actually functions. So yeah, that's just a little bit about what I've seen in terms of my background and how we've been using AI with our clients' businesses and just those opportunities that are sitting there.
Yeah,
Dave?
perfect. Thanks, James. I appreciate you jumping in for 2 reasons. One, it's just good to hear from a systemologist who's a couple of steps ahead from others who might be able to go, hey, I've seen what's down the road. You're on the right track. And I know also for some of the new systemologists that are going to join, you're running the Systems Champion program mid-February. So the new systemologist will get a chance to work with you. So, I know you had to run and you just slotted in to jump in on this one. So I very much appreciate that. So, thank you.
All good.
So I think a couple of little key takeaways there. I think some of the best systemologists tend to go through this journey as being a business owner because they understand the problems deeply and what the business owner goes through, which then makes it much easier for them to solve, especially once they find a solution like systemology and they can see it, it makes it much easier to speak with conviction and sell it, because you know you're doing the client a disservice if you don't get them on the track of getting systems and processes in their business. That's the point at which you want to sell, where you know, if I don't help you do this, you're going to invest your money elsewhere, and you're probably going to buy or invest in some ad strategy or something or this or that that isn't going to work with you. And there's plenty of different charlatans out in that space. But you know, hand on heart, an investment into systems is an investment in their business that will continue to pay dividends for years to come. Compound that with what's happening with AI. There has never been a more important time to document your processes than right now, because what you document today will be the programming of the machines tomorrow. So that's why I'm really kind of pushing. I'm working at the moment on my next book. It'll be launched mid this year, called Systems Champion. And it speaks to a big piece on that. Like, and I need to be careful about writing with AI because it's moving so quickly, but I also talk in terms of fundamentals and things that never change. Like, you need to understand what are the core processes in a business. That's just it. That's how you grow and scale and build profitable businesses that work without business owners. So maybe another story to hear from. I'd love to hear from Rob. You can maybe share a little bit about him. You'll get a chance to learn more from Rob, and I'm going to send you a link with a deeper dive interview with him. But he was our first systemologist to become the $1 million systemologist, where he's hit that revenue target. I think most excitingly, and not all of the systemologists do this, but he hit $100,000 in the first 4 months of becoming a systemologist. Hit the ground running. Already had some existing clients, but I'll let you tell a little bit about that story, Rob, because I feel like you're the best example of what it is we're teaching.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. And hi, everyone. Yeah, it's the journey itself is profoundly not new for everyone, because it's kind of the journey you always want to go as you get older as a business owner. And we kind of pivot into different directions. But where I started was an IT guy. I was an IT guy with an IT company with a bunch of little IT guys working for me all around Sydney and Wollongong area, fixing computers. That's it. So for 25 years, I was working with a variety of businesses, trying to do the right thing. But there's so many things, so many hours in the day. Like, we were hourly rated, all of that kind of thing. And I'm putting fires out every single day. How many times do you have to tell the client to reboot their computer? If I can get paid for that, just for that, I'd be a millionaire. So after about 25 years, I was getting tired and stressed out. I finally just decided to sell that business. Right? I went through the process and sold it and said, right now, I've got 25 years under my belt working with small businesses. I'm going to be a business coach. And then it became the word business mentor. Then it became all these different phrases of the word of the week. The challenge I had is, what do I talk about? How do I help businesses outside of a tech space and being super geeky and helping them with that space? But there's so much more to being a business owner. There's so much more to supporting them and helping them. Adam, as you know, is a marketing guru. That's the space you're in, but there's so much more than that, because you become a life coach, a business coach, a marriage counselor, a techie guy. Like, there's so many things involved with helping businesses and business owners creating business freedom. I read the book. I read the Systemology book. I listened to the audio. I fell in love with the tools. I then looked and became a certified systemologist. And in doing that, I hit the ground running, right? So all I had to do was kind of fine tune the tech space that I was already super comfortable in, really focus on sales and presentation and how to actually deliver the systemology world. How do we actually have that conversation around helping business owners create the freedom? How do you go away for 3 weeks and come back and the business is running better without you? Like, that type of conversation. The tech tools came in place, no problem. Talk about the cloud-based business, their tools, all the things they're using, and then integrating that into how do we record it? How do we document it? How do we get it into a place where the team goes to find out how to do that system or that process, and then create that culture? So it was kind of nerve-wracking in the first couple of months trying to do it. But within 3 months, I signed up my first concierge done for you client. They were just like, just do it for us. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do now? Like, all the study, all the training, all the practical, all the practices with Dave and the team and going through all of that. I'm now, for the first time, sending an invoice out as a systemologist, right? Not even as a business coach or a mentor. I'm a systemologist. So the word systemologist itself created conversation. You're a who? Systemologist? What does that even mean? And boy, did I love telling that story, not just through a presentation for a business, but at a barbecue. Having that conversation, I found that I was incredibly passionate about helping business owners and creating business freedom. And basically, I found it took me about a year to work out why I was so passionate about it. And I realized that my father had a family business that I was part of. He never documented anything. I helped him run the business right to the end in 2019 when he passed away. I tried to run that business, realized we had no systems and processes documented. Eventually, within a year, the business died with him. I couldn't keep it. I couldn't save it, right? Although I tried. Coincidentally, around that same time, I read the Systemology book. I thought, right, my dad had a business that was a beautiful business. He's been working on it for 70 years, right? His entire business career was this business. Couldn't do anything with it, right? I couldn't even sell it in the end. My purpose and my passion became to never let that happen to another business owner again. All right. So use the best that I've learned from the tech stack, the sales, the communication, getting confident to jump on stage, do podcasts, do all of that, share my knowledge. Because at first I was like, oh, no one's going to listen to me. No one really cares about what I've learned about fixing computers and all of that. But I had 25 years experience of just working with small businesses. All right. Time on the wall, getting older, getting wiser, getting smarter. How can I share that knowledge with other business owners and the rest of the world? How can I share the systemology message to the rest of the world? So it evolved. So within 4 months, it basically it brought in $100,000. And I'm like, what? This consulting and systemologist can bring in this? With less than 3.5 years, I pulled in $1 million. And then that's just not even keeping track. That's just reviewing my finances going, this is a great business. So it kind of started off as a thing on the side. It turned into my main core business. And then now I'm at a point where, Dave, I think it was about 2 years ago, you approached me and said, whatever you're doing, we need to bottle that, right? Are you interested in actually helping other systemologists, future systemologists, potential systemologists, consultants, and business coaches around the world that want to add systemology to the mix? Would you be interested in helping them? And I'm like, absolutely. Because if I can share my knowledge about becoming the #1 systemologist in Australia, that was my goal when I first met Dave. And Dave goes, after about 3 years, he goes, I have bad news for you. You're not the #1 systemologist in Australia. You're the #1 systemologist globally. All right. Do you not think that was like the biggest pat on the back I could ever receive? So that is a building block. It became more, my confidence grew, my ability to share the systemology message grew. Like all of that just was a snowball effect. Then all of a sudden AI came in, because in the beginning, we're like, yes, we can document. We know for a fact that I could work with one client a month, and to document a 1 hour video or even a 5-minute video took an hour to document. Right? We knew that. It was just took ages. That became, right, one client a month was about max, maybe two, right? AI came in. We're now using 10% of our tools can be saying, right, let's build a custom bot for the client, load all the transcripts that we've had, load their sales pages, their PDFs, everything about their website, load it. Now ask the question, how do you write an SOP with headings and bullet points on the process of how we added contact in Xero? 2 seconds later, not an hour, 2 hours later, to document how the bookkeeper does that. That becomes the easy fix. We now present that to the client, 80-20 rule. They review it. 80% of it looks like spot on, get out of my head. How did you do that? And I'm like, yeah, Pat did that. It's amazing, isn't it? Right? We're using the tech to do it, but it's not the reason why we're here. So as a systemologist, we're approaching them saying, how can we give you business freedom? I'll show up every week, make it accountable, make you accountable. We'll go through the process together and ensure that we create a systems culture. We create a systems-minded team for you and your team so that you can go away for 3 weeks and come back and the business is running better without you. That's my goal. That's my promise to you. How we do it? The tech is easy. How we pivot to AI? No one's actually said, well, I could do it myself. I just have ChatGPT. That's great. The hardest part about systemizing your business is getting started. It's like that collective analogy of getting a box of puzzle pieces, dumping it on the dining room table. What's the hardest part about that? The first 2 pieces, right? Getting started. Now you do the first 2 processes, you're kind of like, oh God, because we know that with any learning, there are 3 stages. There's confusion. What are we doing? I don't understand. Well, we've got too much. We got 1,000 process document. To frustration. This is just, we don't have time for this. I can't do this every week or whatever. To a breakthrough. Oh my God, we've collected 20% of our processes because we just realized that that's representing 80% of our revenue. The lowest hanging fruit, we've captured it. We brought it into a system. We can duplicate it. We can replicate it. Now let's focus on where we are operationally using different processes and fine tune it. So our goal as a systemologist is to not just hand them a plate of fish, but teach them how to fish, right? So we create a system for creating systems. That's our goal as a systemologist for the consulting world. So fast forward, here we are, 5 years later, Dave?
Yep.
I'm doing this every day. You and I work very closely together. We're presenting and representing systemology as a consulting, mentoring role, working with business coaches and consultants to add that beautiful part of creating systems into a business world where they can create that business freedom. And that is becoming more and more of my passion and purpose every day. That's been my journey so far.
It's such an inspiring journey. And there's other little bits to Rob's story that he hasn't been able to share here. I'll send you a link to an interview with him because Rob also got his wife on board. She got certified as a systemologist. Now he's doing a lot of the selling, and now he's off the tools a lot to do with the delivery. She's now doing that as he's supporting the community. It really is a fantastic story. So I'll make sure to send that link through to you. One thing that we're also finding the more that we do this, instantly coaches and consultants and advisors, they get this. And either they want to become a systemologist and add this to their toolkit, or they want to partner with us. Because the coach or the consultant knows a systems-driven business that gets those results is easier to work with. And just any good business coach or consultant worth their salt will recommend systems and processes at some point to the client. And oftentimes it's a sticking point and it doesn't get done. And the coach or consultant will keep coming back to it. So to be able to partner, we have a lot of coaches and consultants, if they don't necessarily even want to become a systemologist, want to partner with us to go, hey, yeah, well, we'd love to be able to connect with you or one of your systemologists and create a great referral relationship where when we come across these clients, we can send them to you, and different systemologists will have different ways that they work. And, it's up to the systemologist how they want to do that. But there's a huge opportunity for that. And that's just makes talking about this message so easy because everybody knows that they're essential for business. It's always, how do we do it? Where do we get started? How do we keep ourselves accountable? How do we keep it real? How do we make sure it gives an ROI for the small business? And AI means that is happening faster, cheaper, and better than ever before. So that's a big part of what we do today. Like it's just us casting the net and looking for systemologists and potential systemologists who want to join with us on this mission to free all business owners worldwide. We've developed a process, and if the systemologist or the potential systemologist has the will, we've definitely got the way. We know how to stand out from the crowd. We know we've got the messaging right around this idea of systems and AI, perfect match. As a systemologist, you get to leverage our brand. We've got proven marketing. We've got sales scripts and processes and documents. You'd imagine we're very systems driven, and we have figured out a lot of where a lot of consultants get stuck. They get stuck with things like scope creep. And we've got a very specific delivery mechanism that outlines the scope of work that means anything that falls outside of that, it goes on a queue and happens later. So we're great at systematizing the delivery. We've systemized the sales process, and we've also systemized the attraction model as well. So to bundle all of that together with a supportive community, it's very much a business in a box. And I feel like systemologists the most well prepared to take advantage of this AI revolution. They can talk the talk, like they already understand the fundamentals. It's a little bit like Neo in the Matrix when he sees the code for what it is. And then once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you see businesses as a collection of systems and every problem in business is just a systems problem, it makes it much easier to go to work on the machine and the system. And that's the type of work that we do as a systemologist. So again, I'm not going to talk too much more about the program because I want to make sure we've got a little bit of time for some Q&A at the end. We are actually going to do a special promo. As I mentioned, James Brown's leading a group mid next month. We love all new systemologists to go through. So you can actually join up to become a systemologist. It's $695 per month with a minimum commitment of 12 months. That kind of gets you in, gets you the training, gets you access to everything, gets you listed in our directory, all of the support. You'll be working closely with Rob. I'll get Rob to pop a link. If you do want to find out more about it, the next step is to chat with Rob. So you can book him. We call it a scalability audit, but he'll just find out a little bit more about your coaching business to make sure that he can help. The other thing I wanted to share with you, just while it's top of mind, I did mention I've got a ChatGPT for coaches document with a bunch of AI prompts. I'll just paste that into the chat there also. So you can start to play around with that and get it working in your own business. Typically, we take on board 2, not more than 3 systemologists per month, because Rob does all of the work one-on-one at the start to get the systemologist off the ground. So we limit that. So if you want to join for James's program and you want to get started ASAP, the recording of this will go out to all of the those that registered for this and the coaches and consultants in our network. We have got a couple of spots open for that, but they are limited until the next round. We're always recruiting. It's just a matter of how quickly you want to get started. And my suggestion is, with AI where it is, this is not something that you want to wait for. This change is happening right now. I might just take a breath there. We can answer some questions if you want to chat. You can type that into the chat there. We can answer them. Or if Stuart, if you've got any questions, common ones that come up are things like, my industry that I go after is a bit different. Will this work with me? Or what's the ROI? Or how does it work with existing methodologies and integrating with consulting services that you're already offering? I suppose it really depends on what questions you've got. And Rob can answer some of those in the scalability audit, or we can take 1 or 2 now, just in the last little bit we've got. So, Stuart, how did you take all of that in?
Well, it wasn't a fire hose. It was very, very well presented. It makes total sense to me, and I appreciate the fact that you married the systemology approach with AI, because I think that's a very, very smart thing to do. So I don't have any questions right now, other than what would this look like on a month-to-month basis, in terms of how, if you're becoming a student of this whole thing and a practitioner, what's the typical trajectory somebody goes through?
Rob can tell maybe a little bit about that first 12 months. Even break it up into some of the different milestones. Rob's got a roadmap that he goes through, and different systemologists will move at different speeds because they'll come on with different things. Like, some people have existing businesses, some people it's new business, some people need help with the delivery, some people need help with sales and marketing. So it does tailor a little bit, but there is a structure that you follow, Rob.
Yeah, and Suda, I'm happy to send that to you as an
Thank
email. That just gives you a bit of a breakdown. Then we can always jump on a call and go through that as well.
Perfect.
But high level, maybe I don't know if there's just high level, if maybe even the first few months, Rob, to kind of quickly get up to speed. What are some of the key things and how does it work?
Yeah, so basically, because it's one-on-one, we are focusing on the things that you'd love to be working on more. So if you're great with tech, we don't need to cover tech too much. We want to focus on sales because that's your weakness, or areas in which you really want to learn from. So we book in these one-on-one calls. You're invited into the community circle. Now, the community circle is a resource for self-paced training, for systems champion, documentation, business owners. It's all there. Okay, so then what we have throughout that journey is a resource where you can ask questions, you can answer questions if there's already a topic. You're working with all of the other systemologists around the world who are posting in this group. So it's like a glorified Facebook group just for systemologists. And so you have an opportunity to ask questions, answer questions. Then we have our monthly AMA. We have monthly Rob's Open Office, where I just jump in. You could jump in and we're just around the water cooler for an hour, just bantering through how you're going. We then have expert calls where Dave and I find someone who's written a great book on the topic, or we just have a systemologist that's kicking goals and they've just got some amazing things they want to teach. We'll have them present for an hour. So you're welcome to jump in those calls as well. So then we have every 90 days, we do a 90-day sprint. So it's a mastermind held by me. And we focus on what have been your challenges and goals over the last 3 months. How did you go? Let's go through that and then set goals for the next 90 days. So every 90 days, and it takes about 2 hours to go through it, but each individual systemologist has an opportunity to share and set goals and be accountable and say, yes, I'm going to be presenting on stage this quarter. Right now, you're accountable to us because we see how you're tracking. So there's always that ability to learn, but you're accountable, but you're also being part of our family and part of the community to help and support others as well.
Nice. Thank you.
It's almost like the way that we did it, because we tried a few different methods over the years. As I said, we've put a good number of systemologists through. We used to do it cohort based, where people would come through in groups. And then we realized, well, there's a bunch of different systemologists at different levels. So we have a lot of group opportunities where the systemologists come together. But we have the one-on-one where you get, in the first 12 months, you'll be able to have up to 12 one-on-one sessions with Rob. And you can take them as quickly or as slowly as you like. Like you can spread it out, or you might squish it down if you're moving really, really quickly. And Rob's goal on those calls is to go, where are you wanting to get to? Where are you right now? He knows what the gap is, and then he'll point you to the resources and things and be able to say, you know what? You need to jump in on module 2, lesson 3, and I want you to look at this, this, and this. I want you to prepare that for me, and I want you to send it back to me or post it in the community. We try and post everything in the community as much as possible, because then you get other systemologists to join in. And it's almost like that first few months, you're kind of like getting the support you need to get up to speed and then catch up with the rest of the group. There's also the program, timing wise, it's quite good. We only run them a few times in the year, is that Systems Champion Academy, which is what James Brown runs. So we actually, that program, we put systems champions and business owners through, but we also allow a couple of systemologists in each of the groups. So they get a chance to learn alongside the business owners, to feel what it feels like, to hear the questions that they're asking, to be involved in some of the discussion. So I also find that's always timing wise, if you can join one of those you can jump in one of those programs whenever they run, but we do have one starting February 19. And that, again, it's just another way to kind of really round out that learning for you. So it's quite, a supportive community. I don't know if that helps, Stuart, or if you had any specific questions, or again, further, like the next step from here, you book in a call with Rob and he'll do a share screen and show you the community. He can,
Okay.
we've got a big Google Drive with all of the shared resources in there that the systemologists get access to, with the scripts and the SOPs and the branding and the proposals and the logos, and like it's all in one place. And I think sometimes just seeing that kind of gets you to go, there's clearly a lot of thought that's gone into this. Like we just want to serve it up in a package to make it as easy as possible. So
Makes sense. Thank you.
I know we're right on time. I can see a couple of comments there, Ollie, coming through. So appreciate your comments there. Yes, Genius U and Wealth Dynamics. Yes, I think we are students of much of the same material as well. So I appreciate you joining with us today. Also, Tanya and Adam and James as well. And if you guys want to learn a little bit more, we'll post this recording out, so you get a copy of that. I'll have the different links that I've mentioned also. To take the next step from here is to book in a scalability session with Rob. And either way, if it's to become a systemologist or partner, like we love working with great coaches and consultants that appreciate systems, and it becomes a great symbiotic relationship where we kind of really help each other, because that's all we do. We just, some of the best systemologists are the ones also that have very specific niche industry knowledge. They take everything they learn from systemology, they then use that to bottle their knowledge for best practice for the business, and then they become the systemologist in that particular niche. And either partnering with us or becoming that systemologist is the best way to go. Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you. Great to have some time together, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Bye.
Take care, Stu.
Take care.